a PhD in finance and economics, and he is about to bring you your RX for 4X. I'm telling you, 26 years experience. So I'm going to turn this call over to the one and only finance doctor, Dr. Craig Bythewood. Dr. Bythewood, are you on the line?
Yes, I am, Miss Tasha M Dyer, where the M stands for magnificent trainer. I appreciate you as always. Outstanding training. That's just the way you roll. So glad to be a part of this leadership team. So glad to be a part of this Be Your Own Bank movement, because we realize that in order for us to reach our goal of financially educating and impacting 1 million families, it is only done through you, with your support, with your help. So the energy that you always walk in, we just really appreciate. Just think about what this movement would be about if it was just Mr. Rogers, Miss Dyer, and Dr. Bythewood on this Zoom. So literally, I need you to understand that the energy in which you absorb this information, the way in which you give it back to us, the way in which you pour into others around you, it really is making a difference in our world. And I'm sure it would be very easy for me to convince you that right now, we need unity in our world. We need individuals looking out for other individuals. We need people who are looking to help others win rather than responding because they lost. So I said all that to say this. Welcome to a talk with the finance doctor, your RX for 4X. Welcome to a talk with the finance doctor, your RX for 4X. We call it a talk with the finance doctor because this call was designed for you and I to have a dialogue predicated on the fact that personal finance is the only area of our society where the individuals who teach you about the products just so happen to be the same individuals that sell you those personal financial products. So this is an opportunity for you to, what I label as walking in the power of the unmuted microphone. And if you have a question, please feel free to remove that red diagonal from your mic in your lower left-hand corner of your rectangle and speak your mind. When we have these calls, my favorite sound is that rustling of the microphone as somebody decides to go off of mute, because that means that we have an opportunity to bless lives the same way in which I started this call. We call it your RX for 4X simply because we understand that some of us, well, let's keep it real, all of us come to the table with some economic wounds. Even if everything's going well, there were some things you had to go through in order to get to that point. Things that we heard our parents say, things that we experienced watching movies. You ever thought about the fact that in most movies, the person that's wealthy is always evil? The person that has a lot of money is always in some kind of way taking advantage of the other people. So you think about it. If we have images in our society from an art perspective or from a media perspective that portrays rich people as being bad, then subconsciously you have this image of wanting to push away from being bad. So some of us come to this table having pushed away wealth our entire lives and did not even realize we were doing it. So I said all that to say this. Your RX for 4X is an opportunity for us together to write a prescription so you and I can heal ourselves of these subconscious patterns and put ourselves on the other side of wealth and abundance. So welcome to a talk with the finance doctor. I have a few things I'd like to say, but prior to doing that, let me open it up and let me say this for the new people. Anytime I'm talking, if you have a question, interrupt me. If it's supposed to be said, it will come right back into my perspective. But your questions are always more important than my agenda. Let me repeat that. Your questions are always more important than my agenda. So please feel free to ask any questions you have. So let me open it up. Are there any questions, comments, or testimonies?
No, I just want to say again, as always, thank you, because you guys are like the dream team. You, Miss Dyer and Dr. Rogers, you guys are amazing because you always think about yourself and you can't get past whatever you're going through. And like today, I pushed the button and I went live. I lost only $3, and I'm not mad because it was only $3. So I'm going back tomorrow, and I'm going for to keep going. And like Miss Dyer said earlier, don't think about the money, just think about the bigger picture. And that's what it is in life. You got to think about the bigger picture and no longer thinking about just the coins and whatever's coming with it. You got to think about your why and everything else. So I'm grateful and I'm glad to be in this movement. And I thank you, all three of you guys, because before this, I just was like, you know what? All right, I'll get in, I'll jump in, I'll dive in, and I'm out because it ain't working for me. But now this movement has been much bigger than just me, and I thank you guys.
Ms. Robinson, thank you very much for that testimony. I certainly said questions, comments, testimonies, so we appreciate that. So congratulations, Ms. Robinson, for pushing the button and going live. And let's do a little remix on that anecdote that you told us. What you did was you simply paid some tuition. And the very small amount of tuition that you paid for that great lesson that you learned is way smaller than the tuition that's paid in the world that I came from. 26 years ago, when I earned my PhD in finance and economics, I remembered that all of the individuals that were my professors, they used to make a big deal about the fact that now that we're graduating, we're going into the academy. They would call it the academy, like it was some special place. And I'm not in any way taking anything away from it because I appreciate my training. I appreciate the way it has prepared me to be able to understand what a wonderful educational process that we have in I Am Academy. It gave me an opportunity to really be able to recognize the way in which we present information, the way in which we wrote our book. So obviously it was definitely a win-win. But when they talked about the academy and they talked about what the academy does for people, let's keep it real. You pay a whole lot more than Miss Robinson did for your tuition, and there's still no guarantee that you will have an opportunity to feed your family. There's no guarantee you would have an opportunity to be able to provide a better life for yourself. So that's why I love what we're doing, because Miss Robinson's tuition that she paid today was very, very small, but the rewards are very large. So we're just very happy, Ms. Robinson, that you share that with us. So when you tell that story again, just say it with what it is. I went live today and I learned some great lessons. Doesn't that feel a little bit better? Doesn't that feel a little bit lighter? It's the same story. It's just focusing on the reality of what really happened. I went live today and I learned some excellent lessons. Yes, you did. So any other questions, comments, testimonies?
Hi, good evening, Dr. B. This is Danielle Clayton from Jacksonville, Florida. How are you?
I'm fine. Duval, how you doing?
Duval, that's right. Don't get me started. But yes, sir. I want to commend Miss Robinson because she reminded me so much of myself when I first started. You know, I was like her, and Miss Dyer and Mr. Rogers told me to just press the button. And I commend her because when I started, I wasn't thinking about the money. I really had a passion for learning this skill, and I know that she does too. And she reminds me so much of myself. So I want to tell you, Miss Robinson, I commend you like to the highest of highest levels, because so many of us come in because of the money. I was not thinking about the money when I made my first profit. I was surprised and I was shocked and gave God the glory for it. But that's not what I was thinking about. It was all about learning. So, you know, my queen, my sister, I commend you. I really, really do. And I'm very, very proud of you.
Ms. Clayton,
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Ms. Clayton, let me ask you a nosy question.
Yes, sir.
Tell our listening Talk with the Finance Doctor audience, how long ago approximately did you join our team?
I joined in April.
Okay, now I want you guys to think about this. It's November. And Miss Clayton is saying that Miss Robinson's story reminds her of herself. Now, I want you to really, really put this into perspective. When April came and Miss Clayton joined this Be Your Own Bank movement team, myself, Miss Dyer, Mr. Rogers, we have been doing this for 2 years. So we have literally heard stories just like Miss Clayton's and just like Miss Robinson's the entire time. So while Miss Clayton was talking, I was snickering to myself because I just kept seeing people's names that I could put the April before or the months before, the months before, the months before. Literally, we watched this whole story unfold. In fact, if we really want to be honest, we can say the same thing about Miss Dyer. We can say the same thing about Mr. Rogers. We can say the same thing about Dr. Bythewood. So literally what we're seeing is that right now, for the benefit of those of you whose mics are muted, for the benefit of those of you that are going through the exact same thing Ms. Robinson is, for the benefit of those of you that are feeling and experiencing the exact same thing, and Ms. Robinson is speaking for you, you have to understand exactly where we are in this process. This is a natural unfolding. Now, you all know that sometimes I give examples from TV shows. Let me give you a little bit of history of where that comes from. I was raised an only child. So being an only child, the television oftentimes was my babysitter. That's not a knock against my mom. My mom was out there grinding. That's the only human being that's ever been there for me every single day of my life. So it's all love. But I had to watch a lot of TV because I was by myself. So I remember a while ago, maybe about 15, 18, 20 years ago, there was a show. And the show was based on 3 different couples. So they showed one couple that had been married for a long time. And then they showed one couple that had just gotten married or in the newlywed phase. Then there was another couple that were in the boyfriend-girlfriend stage. So the whole point of this is a situation comedy. The whole sitcom was to show the different stages of relationships. And so that's exactly what we're doing right now. We're seeing a Danielle Clayton that's at a certain stage in the relationship, and we're seeing a Tiwana Robinson that's a certain stage in the relationship, and we've seen others before that that went through those same stages. So my point to you is this: what you're dealing with right now, why don't you just take a deep breath and relax your shoulders? Because that's the natural progression. You have to go through to get to. You have to go through to get to. So it should make you feel a little bit better to know that some of that fretting, some of that anxiety, some of that those feelings that you're experiencing, they're natural, they're normal. It's literally the process that you go through. So Miss Clayton, Miss Robinson, I really appreciate both of you for bringing this perspective, because this is a reminder to me. Where you are right now is where you're supposed to be. And thank God that you have a process like this, because I love to hear Mr. Rogers or Miss Dyer make this point. When we started, there was no 5 a.m. and 9 a.m. call. When we started, there was no BYOB cash out strategy. So you all have it so good, but you still have to go through the natural progressions of getting to your particular point. So just please understand that you're in the right place, doing the right thing, feeling the right feelings, and just like Miss Clayton did, you will get there. Thank you again for both of those perspectives. Questions, comments, testimonies. Now, one of the things that I like, Mr. Harris, you have something to say, sir?
No, I doing this evening, Dr. Bythewood.
Okay, cool. So
yeah, I was just saying that like I noticed that in joining the group and plugging in that it's a part, like you say, of going through. You got to go through it. I went through it, and it really only takes a couple weeks or whatever before you really get the hang if you stay plugged in. You know what I mean?
right.
And I just want everybody who listening just to don't be down and keep your your joy and your hope on everything that, as long as you stay plugged in, is y'all gonna go through it, but you're gonna get great. And I mean, you know, with the teachers we got and everything that I've learned, I've really gotten greater, and I'm happy because my mindset was set like, hey, I'm going to get it. You know what I mean? Just like in school, you had to learn elementary before you got to 12th grade. So I just want everybody to stay plugged in with the teachers and everything we got going on, and everything gonna work out.
That's right. Thank you for that, Mr. Harris. That's a very good piece of advice that he just provided to you. Stay plugged in. Stay plugged in, stay plugged in, stay plugged in. And you think about it, the Dr. Bythwoods, the Miss Dyers, the Mr. Rogers, we're plugged in. And we're not just plugged in because we're on the leadership side of it. We're plugged in because we really believe in what we're doing. Every single word that's ever said, everything that's ever chatted, we plug in because we know that by plugging in and understanding what's going on, we put ourselves in a better position to financially educate and impact. And I'm going to say this again. This is not about the three of us financially educating and impacting. This is about all of us financially educating and impact. Just like Mr. Harris just dropped that truth, and Ms. Clayton dropped the truth, and Ms. Robinson, whether you realize it or not, you're one of the best mentors that we have because you come on these calls and you speak your truth. And when you speak your truth, Ms. Robinson, and when you tell your story, I know that it touches others who are going through the same thing. I had a conversation with someone today that's going through some similar situations. So a lot of the things that were said today in this conversation really spoke to that person. In fact, Ms. Dyer made a couple of comments about pressing the button and about plugging in, about going through the process and about not being overwhelming yourself with too much information. I said those exact same words to that person today. So literally, we're all in the right place at the right time with the right amount of information. And we got to follow the Terry Harris model. Stay plugged in, stay plugged in, stay plugged in. You know, I love taking situations and making them binary. In other words, it's either one or the other. So if you think about it, you only have two choices: plug in or stop. Plug in or stop. What an easy choice. What an easy choice. Because you know what's on the other side of plugging in. You know that your family can literally be in a different space by you plugging in. So this is such an easy situation. So sometimes we have to kind of skip past all of our perception of roadblocks. We kind of have to skip past all of our perceptions of issues and potholes and all that. They don't even exist. All you're doing is what was that documentary? Eyes on the prize. Keep your eyes on the prize, stay plugged in, and success will be yours. In the 2.5 years in which we've been doing this, we've seen people fail. And guess why they failed? Because they violated the Terry Harris rule. They stopped plugging in. Everybody who plugs in, here's something to feel good about. Here's something to feel good about. Here's something to feel good about. Because if you're listening to this, you're either plugged into this call or you're plugged in enough to be listening to a recording. All you have to do is stay plugged in. Every single person that we have seen not succeed, you know, it's not like me to talk about people not succeeding, but let's just go there for a second. Every single person that we've seen not succeed is because they stopped. Because they stopped. 100% of the people who did not succeed in this stopped. So what a great model. That means you don't even have to do anything other than just stay plugged in. That's all you have to do. Because if you stay plugged in, you will have success. You will have your success. Like Miss Clayton told you, the Clayton principle. That reminds me of me. I used to be like that. We all used to be like that. Just stay plugged in. Just stay plugged in. Just stay plugged in. Question. Thought I heard
Dr. Bythwood? Yes. Hi, this is Donna Goodwin out in Norcross, Georgia. How are you tonight?
I'm fine. Donna Goodwin from Norcross, Georgia. How are you?
I am fabulous. Excellent. Well, I wanted to talk about the growth. And I also wanted to, I commend Ms. Robinson as well, because I was in the same spot as, you know, I was scared to push the button in my demo account. But I wanted to say, somebody said, I don't know if it was Mr. Rogers, when your mind expands, it might have been you, when your mind expands.
Don't be giving him my credit. That was me. I'm just saying.
No, we had to conquer
doesn't-
our fears.
It doesn't go back to the same state or the same
Once the
size.
brain expands, it never goes back to the way it was. That expansion
Yes.
remains for the rest of your life.
Yes, and I'm telling a lot of my, people that if you stay plugged in to this system, you will not fail. And because I know the feeling when you're coming into a business, when you're coming into a company, you're geeked, you pumped, oh, I'm about to make some money. But listen, you have to learn this skill set. I'm talking about be on these calls in the morning, noon, and night, whenever they are, be on them, because that's the only way you're going to win. And for me, failure is not an option. It's just not. It's not an option. So for me, if you don't stay plugged in, you cannot blame the system, because often we want to blame something else for our failure, or someone else for our failure.
All right,
I can't blame
Goodwin, I
anybody.
gotta stop you. You used the word failure 3 times.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Say that based on success. I
Well,
know I
yes.
started it.
Right. Okay. But in order to succeed, you can't be laxadaisal.
So you have to plug in order to succeed, is what I hear you say.
You have to. It's imperative. It's not. I can't even explain.
You just did.
Like,
you just did. You just told us you have to plug in order to succeed. That's wisdom.
yeah, and you have to be accountable. You have to be accountable for your own success. Nobody else can do that for you. And if you want to succeed in BYOB and be a BYOBer, then you got to do what the BYOBers do. And we stay plugged in.
Love it. Love it. That's a good win right there. I love it. That is a good win. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Mr. Sutton, did you have something you wanted to say?
You gotta move and you gotta push the button.
Nah,
You
I
can't
do.
keep on.
It was definitely a good win, and I'm up here laughing, having fun, because this is not a strenuous, stressful project that we have going on. Every last one of us, Miss Goodwin, Miss Gold, Hawaiian, Miss Robinson, it doesn't matter who you are. We are all plugged in together. Don't forget that. We are all going in the same direction.
Right.
And it doesn't matter who you are. When I looked at one of the scriptures where it talked about Peter and everyone being, one of them got off, like Peter got off, walked on the water. Look, faith without works is dead. We have to stay plugged in. Robinson, stay plugged in. Listen to Miss Goodwin, because it is, as Dr. Blightwood would say, it is good win, and it's a refreshing win. So we have to always remember that this is the direction. And if we continue to go forward, stay plugged in, you will reach your goal. Because I decided a long time ago that I wasn't going to work for no one all my life. Never. I would rather work for myself. I don't have anyone on my back. I don't have anyone looking over my shoulders or anything. And this business has gotten me to the point where, you know what, at any given time, I will feel very, very grateful to God, grateful to Tasha Dyer, grateful to the rest of you guys, Dr. Bytewood, to everyone, Gerald. I feel so grateful that I learned this strategy. And this strategy now has me in a state of mind that, you know what, nothing is going to stop me. Like that song says, nothing can stop me now. I'm pushing forward. So every one of you guys just continue to push forward. God is with you.
Love it. I certainly appreciate that, Mr. Sutton. And let me tell you another reason why I appreciate that. I'm a girl dad raised by a single mom, and I understand the power of feminine energy, and I respect female leadership. I think I told you guys I went to college with Kamala Harris, very excited about what she has done politically because I know her and she's good people. But sometimes, Mr. Sutton, sometimes, Mr. Harris, we need to hear that male voice. We need to hear that testosterone give a testimony. We need to hear men get excited about this. Because, you know, if you understand the reality of the way male versus female energy works, men are thinkers, we're logical. You look at a meeting, a man will always say, well, I think we should do this. In that same meeting, the women leaders will say, well, I feel we should do this. Women feel and men think. So oftentimes the women are very comfortable making the testimonies, and sometimes we just sit back and think it instead of saying it. So you just need to understand, Mr. Harris and Mr. Sutton, how wonderful it is for the young men on this call, for the young men who are muted right now, for the young men that may be listening to this recording, that you are speaking up and telling your story. So thank you for both of you for that. Stay plugged in, stay plugged in, stay plugged in. Questions, comments, testimonies. Questions, comments, testimonies.
Dr. Bythe, what I would like to say, Miss Brownlee here, it's not just the men that want to hear the men. It makes me feel mighty good hearing the men speak up and step up. It's just so refreshing. Just that, I'll leave it at that. It's so refreshing to hear the men. Yes. Thank God for every one of them. And I just want to give a shout out to Mr. Harris. If it's all right to say on this call, I love Mr. Harris.
Me too.
It's been such a delight,
right,
to grow with him.
Right.
It's just been so refreshing. I am so proud of him.
Me
and
too.
Then I love what Mr. Sutton said. We're in this thing together.
Right.
And that's what it's all about. Nobody can put situations, circumstances, conditions, and people together like God can. And we're in this thing together. And I'm delighted that we are. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Ms. Brownlee. What a wonderful testimony, as always. And she's right. The male voice is important for all. So thank you for adding that to the table. And, you know, I like giving people nicknames. When I look at your name, Mr. Sutton, I think about the fact that recently Cash App decided to associate themselves with a bank. And the bank that runs Cash App is Sutton Bank. So that's my name for you, Cash App. Never going to work for anybody else. Always going to work for themselves, Mr. Cash App. All right. Questions, comments, testimonies from anybody else?
Dr. B, I wanted to chime in for a moment.
Yes, sir.
I have to give you guys the top level of props that I can give. Been plugging in since August. I literally just follow what you guys say. You know, I followed it wholeheartedly, and I'm seeing the light on the end of the tunnel, and it's incredible. You guys are pinpoint. Everything you guys say, it actually plays out that way. Even the same be your own bank. I mean, I used to hear that. I'm like, oh, it sounds cute. Like, but at this point, I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and literally you can become your own bank. So I just got to give you guys the utmost level of props with how you guys lay out the program. It's real simple. You just follow. You get brainwashed over and over again, hearing the same exact things, and it works.
So let me say two things. First of all, thank you for that testimony. Second of all, I need you to understand that I meant what I said. I dial in. I pay attention to every word that is said, every word that is typed, and I am a pretty good reader of energy. So let me tell you about you, Los Diddi. Let me tell you what I have noticed about you. When you first came on the scene, there was an energy behind your chats. And what you chatted or what you typed in the chat had a little bit of edge on it. It had a little bit of I ain't kind of energy. It had a little bit of like Miss Goodwin. It was talking about failure first before it transformed into succeed. So I have watched the energy of your chats change. I have literally watched the way you type, the verbs that you use, the vernacular that you use, the energy behind what you type. I have watched it shift. So I appreciate you being A, man enough to feel what we're saying, but B, man enough to implement it into what you're doing to the point where it's obvious to me. It's obvious to me that you're working on you, that you are personally developing, and it literally shows that the energy of your text, it bounces off the chat in a totally different way. So shout out to you, man. I appreciate you saying that. Plug in, plug in, plug in. Any other questions, comments, testimonies? I hear you, Miss Gold. Play, niece. It's time to get plugged back in. Questions, comments, testimonies, last chance on our talk with the finance doctor entitled Stay Plugged In. Questions, comments, testimonies.
We just got to stay plugged in because this is a whole different movement and nobody is understanding what this is but us. So we can teach it, we can tell it, we can speak it, but until people walk it, they don't get it and they don't understand it. And I got it today when I walked it in my live account.
Excellent.
So you don't get it until you walk it.
Beautiful.
You could talk it, we can see it in our demo, but when you walk it in that live account and that's your own money and you playing with it,
Yes.
you get it.
Yes.
And you understand it. And we now know.
Thank you for that, Ms. Robinson. We are walking the walk, Cash App. All right, last chance. Questions, comments, testimonies on a talk with the finance doctor dedicated to staying plugged in. Okay, we've reached the end of our time for a talk with the finance doctor. So, Mr. Rogers, do you have some final comments for us, sir?
Wow, once again, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate the amazing tenacity in which these two energetic high vibrators have always come to the table and bringing their expertise. And I am tremendously excited because Dr. Bythewood and Ms. Dyer, once again, I salute the two of you as I am reflecting on what the two of you have been able to do over the last 2 years. The platform, the foundation, and just so freely giving of yourselves. I'm simply reminded that you two are the epitome of something that I know that I would continually emulate myself after, because the greatest amongst you is a servant. So I remember when there was no cash out strategy. I remember when there was no web analyzer vibrato now. I remember when all we had was the call. All we had was the purpose.
Right.
And ladies and gentlemen, for each and every one of you rectangles tonight, you were in our mind, you were in our hearts, and many of you are still evolving and coming into your greatness. But as we know, energy is never lost, it's transferred, and it's our ultimate desire that the spirit in which we operate is laid upon each and every one of you. So when you realize and understand that when there was nothing for us to speak to, but speak to everything. I'm gonna say that again. I hope you guys are catching what I'm saying. When there was nothing for us to speak to, but it spoke to everything. When we said that we were going to do this, and we were going to impact and educate 1 million families. So those words that were spoken in 2018 are continually materializing and manifesting as we speak at this current and very moment. So my question to each and every one of you, what are you saying every single day regarding the people that are drawn to your voice? What are you saying about yourself regarding your expertise? What are you saying? Knowing that you have the same responsibility than when I spoke to my dear friend and made a phone call to Dr. Bythewood. When I made the phone call to an individual of Miss Dyer, who I had no relationship with, we understood and knew about each other, but we sat down. So I'm saying to you, it doesn't have to always make sense. Because if it makes sense to us, then that means we have the responsibility of making it happen. But when we allow our natural to be invaded by the super, God being our super, then things like what you're experiencing tonight will become your daily reality. So greater works that you've been given the charge to, each and every one of you listening, there's going to be one of you over the next 90 days facilitating these calls. And we're looking forward to hearing your voice and the multiple people, because of your experience, you're going to be able to lead out of their darkness, out of their financial darkness, out of their emotional darkness. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm even more inspired tonight, not because of what we're doing, but because the expectancy of you to do greater things than what we could even imagine, exceedingly abundantly above all things we could ask, according to the power that worketh in each and every one of us. And I just quoted Ephesians 3:20. And the Greek word, when we talk about power, we talk about dynamite. So each and every one of you are designed to blow stuff up. You're designed to eradicate poverty. You're designed to eradicate mindsets. So dunamis, all of these dunamis powers collectively. So guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Let's go blow up stuff in our communities. Let's go blow up stuff in our families. Let's blow it off. Let's blow it up. As I breathe, I'm breathing life into each and every one of you. Receive this manifold blessing. Blow it up, blow it up, blow it up, blow it up. Back to you, Dr. Bythewood.
Love it, Mr. Rogers. We appreciate that. We appreciate your leadership in a mighty way. Thank you, everyone, for attending a talk with the finance doctor. This will conclude our calls for the week, and we look forward to you having a productive weekend, getting that academy, get on YouTube, and continue to learn, continue to put yourself in the best position so that when we meet again on Monday morning at 5 a.m., we'll be ready for another productive week. And maybe we'll have a human leader by then. Okay, everybody. This has been a talk with the finance doctor. Let me seal this in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for each rectangle. For we know that they represent a very important part of their family, because they are the ones in their group. They're the ones in their circle that thought that this was the way for them to serve you. So I ask you to bless them. I ask you to bless all those in their circle so that they will benevolently be shown this information, this opportunity, this vehicle. Thank you for this leadership group. Thank you for this movement. And we are thankful. We are appreciative, and we are grateful. Amen. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.